In this video, I am going to explain precisely what Rift-sawn flooring is and why you might want it in your house. Rift-sawn refers to a specific way of milling logs that makes for really expensive lumber. You've probably seen lots of Rift-sawn white oak, but Rift-sawn can be any type of wood. It is simply the way the log goes through the sawmill. White oak is just very popular right now. This way of milling lumber makes for some very desirable effects. Let's look at how it's made. The grain of a tree is circular, with each ring representing 1 year. The way the grain is facing on the piece of lumber is what determines whether it's rift-sawn, quarter-sawn, plain sawn, or live sawn. Those are the 4 common types of sawing. If you look closely, all of the grain is running vertically through the face of the board. I know this is hard to see on the end of a log, so let me show you on 2 boards. Notice the grain is up and down on the rift-sawn, and the grain is across or horizontal on the plain sawn. The log has to be at special angles to the blade to get rift-sawn lumber. It's awkward, it's labor intensive, and it results in a lot of waste to produce the finished product. That is why rift-sawn is so expensive. The reason you often find rift paired with quarter-sawn is because, as you can see on the diagram, the log is oriented the same way to get the quarter-sawn. However, the wood comes from the center of the tree for quartered and the outer portion of the tree for rift, so the grain pattern is different. Now for the 3 big reasons that people love rift-sawn flooring. Number 1, the grain pattern is incredibly uniform. With all wood, you get some variation throughout the grain, even if it's the same grade of lumber and the same type of lumber. Rift-sawn makes for the most uniform grain patterns that there are. The second reason why rift-sawn is so popular is that it does not shrink and expand in the same way that normal lumber does. Most of the expansion in wood starts at the inside and expands outward. If you were to take a plain sawn board from a tree and expose it to high levels of moisture, it would expand like this. Notice the direction of the wood grain. It's horizontal. So the board expands horizontally, getting wider when subjected to moisture. Now look at the grain structure of the rift-sawn. All of the grain is up and down. We know that wood expands and contracts horizontally across its grain. So what does that mean for rift-sawn? That means that rift-sawn expands up and down rather than side to side. Because of this, rift-sawn floors do not swell up and cup in the summer or shrink down and gap in the winter nearly as bad. Now they do still move a small amount side to side, but it's way less. This is really important if you have a house on a lake or anywhere that's really prone to moisture fluctuation. If you're working over a concrete slab or a crawl space in the Midwest, you should strongly consider rift-sawn flooring. The third reason that rift-sawn flooring is so desirable is because of its durability. The first thing that starts to fail on your average wood floor is the soft grain. The soft grain makes up the vast majority of what's showing on plain sawn lumber. But on rift-sawn lumber, due to the orientation of the grain, that soft grain gets concealed inside of the board. Note the ridges on top where the soft grain has worn away on this old piece of rift-sawn. And there's very little soft grain exposed to wear out. Because of this, rift-sawn is much tougher than plain sawn, even if they are both from the same species. Quarter sawn also has all of the same advantages of rift-sawn, except for the extremely uniform grain structure. Thanks for watching this video, and if you liked it, I've got another one you might like right up here.